We often think writing belongs to native speakers. We think books are written by people in their first language. But sometimes we read a different kind of story, and those kind of stories changed our mind. I just finished this book, and it was written in Chinese by an Italian. His name is Alexandre Ceschi, and the book is about his life in China. He learned Chinese. He became an actor. He described his life during the pandemic period, and he spent Chinese New Year in the countryside. Today, I would not mention the stories in the book, but I would like to talk about writing. Learning a language through writing. Writing is the hardest part of language learning. We have listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Writing is totally different because it not only tests your vocabulary, it also tests your real control of the language. In my previous videos, I talked about reading. I also talk about Chinese characters. Why are they so important? You may ask this question. Here is one reason. If you only know how to speak, you can talk to people living nowadays. You can understand today's people's ideas. You can hear their opinions. But if you can read and write, something changes. You can go beyond time. You can meet ancient minds. You can touch old civilizations. This is one reason humans need writing. So how can we use writing to learn a language? First, use paper and pen. It sounds simple, but it is not always easy. When we learn a new language, we often listen, we often watch, but we do not write. If we only use our ears and eyes, our body is not fully involved. But writing brings the body into learning. At the beginning, writing is about copying. It's about repeating. It can be boring, but it can also be beautiful, especially Chinese characters, as a kind of art. Of course, you do not have to master Chinese characters if you already know how to communicate. Communication is already a great goal. I'm not saying everyone must write Chinese characters, but writing then gives you another experience. Speaking Chinese is one thing. Writing Chinese characters is another thing. They feel completely different. The second thing is when we write, we meet problems. We must have some words we don't know how to write, and it depends on the language we are learning. Sometimes we also write with our native language mind. So I suggest using AI. Use AI to correct your writing, use it to give you better experience, and explain the expression. If you are writing Chinese characters or Japanese kanji, there is one useful method. Write the characters clearly, and then take a photo. Send it to AI. Ask it to recognize the words, and then ask it to give you advice. If you are learning an alphabet-based language, it is much easier. You can type on a keyboard. Chinese is special. Sometimes you know a word in your head, but you do not know how to pronounce it. So you cannot search for it. You cannot look it in the dictionary. That is why many learners need to take photos or copy things down, like to write it down. Otherwise, the connection disappears. I learned this lesson from studying Japanese, so I truly understand the difficulty of learning Chinese. Third, we need reading. Writing is output, but output needs input. Even in our native language, writing is reading, so we need to keep reading. At the beginning, I recommend children's books. Do not look down them. They are great for daily vocabulary. And then we can read news, we can read articles. In the digital age, this is easy. I personally love writing. Writing helps me understand myself better. Sometimes I feel worried, then I start writing, and the worry slowly disappears. It works better than almost anything in my personal experience. Today, for example, I finished reading this book. And it gave me many thoughts. And this is what reading can do. It also made me want to speak, to share it with you. It made me want to write. So you can see, this is the gift of reading. And this is the gift of writing too. It is beautiful meeting. We do not know the writer, but through a book, we meet him and we gain a real experience. So I want to ask a question to finish the video. Did you read today?